President.
The senator from Ohio.
Senate Republicans, in their typically unanimous ways, just blocked this chamber from even voting on the Economic Development Revitalization Act of 2011. We heard Senator Boxer point out how many Republicans had supported economic development administration for so many times, and what they did for economic development in their states. We know in Vermont and Pennsylvania and Ohio how EDA works, that for small federal investments, leveraging that money in the private sector through incubators in many cases, or accelerators, or whatever communities call them, they do in fact create jobs. Unfortunately, every single Republican in this chamber decided that wasn't such a good thing, perhaps to deny a political victory to President Obama, but what it really did was deny it, was take away another tool to get this economy back on course. So many people in this body seem to think that it's all about reducing the debt, and it is about reducing the debt, but it needs to be largely about producing jobs, creating jobs. There doesn't seem to be that much interest from the other side of the aisle. Last week, I spoke with economic development directors and county commissioners, including from the city of Moraine, a suburb of Dayton, where an auto plant, a GM plant, closed a couple of years ago, and from Ashtabula County, my wife's home county in the northeast corner of the state. They explained the importance of EDA funding and how it supports economic growth in their communities. EDA has traditionally been a non-controversial and bipartisan job creation bill. It brokers deals, helps to broker deals between the public and the private sectors, which is critical, obviously, to economic growth and recovery. It's particularly important in economically distressed communities, particularly in these kinds of economic times. Every $1 in EDA grant funding leverages $7 worth of private investment. For every 10,000, this is what's stunning, and this is proven by evidence and fact, for every $10,000 of EDA investment in business incubators, which helps entrepreneurs start up companies, between 50 and 70 jobs are created. So when you put money into the Youngstown incubator, or you put a bit of federal money into Launch House in Shaker Heights, an incubator accelerator that was just launched, if you will, we know that that will create jobs. It helps entrepreneurs, it helps people in startup companies create the kinds of jobs in our community. Some of these businesses will fail. Some of them a few of them will wildly succeed. Many of them will hang on for several years, hiring 5 people, 20 people, 10 people, maybe hundreds in some cases. In Ohio, since 2006, more than 40 EDA grants worth $36 million have leveraged a total of more than $87 million once private resources were matched. Colleges and universities from Bowling Green in the Northwest to Ohio University in the Southeast to Miami in the Southwest have received EDA funds. So too have port authorities in Toledo in the West and Northwest Ohio, Ashtabula on presiding officer's border with Erie in that part of Ohio, and entrepreneurs in Cleveland and Appalachia. If we're going to strengthen our competitiveness, we need to equip businesses with the tools they need to thrive. If we're going to strengthen our competitiveness, communities will need to create higher skill, living wage jobs that attract private investment. That's what EDA is designed to do. It's the front door for communities facing sudden and severe economic distress. When economic disaster hits, communities turn to the government in so many cases, and it's EDA that does the job. EDA's helped redevelop the former GM plant in Moraine, several thousand jobs once in that plant, GM jobs, Frigidaire jobs. Now, because of EDA and local partnerships and outside private investment, we expect to see hundreds and hundreds, maybe a few thousand jobs in manufacturing in that Moraine plant. We've seen EDA help redevelop the DHL plant in Wilmington, Ohio. Ashtabula's Plant C received EDA investments to make vital repairs. In the bill that Senate Republicans just blocked us from even voting on, would have strengthened a proven job-creating program. How many times do we hear about businesses worried about uncertainty created in a still recovering economy? This bill would have provided certainty in funding for an established job-creating program. It would have reduced regulatory burdens to increase flexibility for grantees. It would have encouraged public-private partnerships that we've already seen make a difference across Ohio. I offered 2 amendments that would have further strengthened EDA. One would have assisted former auto communities when a plant closure or downsizing causes economic distress, like Moraine. The other would have made, in my hometown of Mansfield. The other would have made more Ohio communities eligible to receive funds for business incubators. Ohio is home to the National Business Incubator Association, the trade association for all incubators in Southeast Ohio and Athens. We have a model for business incubators in Toledo and Youngstown and now Shaker Heights. This amendment would have allowed more Ohio communities to support that homegrown entrepreneurship. Just yesterday, instead, Republican senators chose to bog down the ADA bill with other unrelated amendments. All of them were unrelated to the task at hand, and that is, how do you create jobs? Yesterday, I was at Cleveland State University, where its Veteran Student Success Program goes above and beyond in serving our nation's veterans. Unemployment among young Americans is especially acute. It disproportionately affects young veterans, and that's an outrage. Today, the unemployment rate for returning service members between 20 and 24 is 27%, almost 3 times the national unemployment average. That means that more than 1 in 4 veterans can't find a job to support her family or his family, easing the transition to civilian life. When our economy needs their skills, when veterans can get the job done, too often veterans are turned away. Cleveland State University has a Project Serve program to ensure service members who return home and into the classroom receive the educational benefits they earned and deserve. Imagine the difficulty for someone 25 years old, has done 2 combat tours in Iraq. They come back to Cleveland or come back to Philadelphia or anywhere else in this country, and try to integrate into a classroom with 18 and 19-year-olds who have seen nothing like the 25-year-old who's been in combat in Iraq or Afghanistan. This Project Serve at Cleveland State has been groundbreaking, one of the few in the country. And now at Youngstown State University, what they're doing will establish that veteran support programs at colleges and universities. It started an idea at a community roundtable I convened at Cleveland State a few years ago. It became law in the last Congress. We've ensured its funding. Yesterday, I met with Clarence Rowe, a staff sergeant in the Marine Corps, who's using the veterans' resources at CSU to translate his military skills to the needs of the civilian job market. But as much as CSU and other universities do to assist our veterans, high unemployment continues to hurt all Americans. Too often, people like Staff Sergeant Rowe, who has put years in serving this country, come back and can't, even with developing the job skills that he has done, that Sergeant Rowe has developed in school, they simply can't find jobs. Education, workforce investment, EDA have long been sound federal investments that have helped create jobs and strengthen our economy. It's a shame Republicans have yet again placed a roadblock on that pathway towards a strong, more prosperous middle class. We can do better than that, Mr. President.